Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, start over. We'll call this Winnebago County Board of Adjustment deliberative session to January 4th, 2024 to order. Is there any old business?
Before we have a motion, I'd like to refer to the November 28th public hearing. At the bottom of that page. The last motion on that page shows that the deliberative was supposed to be moved to January 4th, 2023.
Yep.
That should be corrected to 2024.
Yep. So noted.
So Tushel moves to approve the minutes of November 9th, the deliberative, November 28th, public hearing with a year change to 2024 on the last motion on the first page. The December 14th viewing, December 20th, public hearing, all in 2023.
There's been a motion made to approve the minutes from November 9th deliberative, November 28th, public hearing with changes, December 4th viewing, and December 20th public hearing.
No.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the minutes from December 9th, December 28th, December 14th, December 20th, 2023. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
I have to abstain from the 28th.
Okay, noted. All right, the one person we have on the agenda today is the M4 North America 2450 Badger Ave variance request. They are requesting to have, to build a, what are they gonna build? Silo, how many?
Two.
Ooh, I don't remember, it's 24. Two silos at a height limitation of 892 feet. Or the standard or the standard, I guess, is for 880 feet. We received, I don't say approvals, but we did receive the okay from the FAA and the Winnebago County Airport. They said they had no problem with any of that, and we received no other correspondence either for or against the request. Any discussion?
Well, I think the FAA is, speaks pretty, clearly that it's not gonna be a problem.
Right.
I don't know how you would go against that. I mean, they've got a lot of documentation.
Yeah, they're gonna be the same height as the ones, the existing
Yeah.
ones are there right now, so it's not gonna change anything as far as the any kind of interference with any flight pattern goes.
Normally, past actions are supposed to be a precedence on variances. But in this particular case, it's the very same property, and we've done this before on this property. So I think that might be a guide for us.
Motion to approve.
Usual seconds.
It has been a motion made and seconded to approve the variance request for a 892 foot height limitation on two new silos to be constructed in 2024. I'm sorry, motion made and seconded. Findings for granting.
Number criterion advisory findings under 23.7-234 basis of decision required for all. Chapter 23 Town County Zoning Code, Chapter 26 Floodplain Zoning Code, and Chapter 27 Shoreland Zoning Code. First criteria, the requirement in question would unreasonably prevent the property owner from using the property for a permitted purpose or would render conformity with such requirement unnecessarily burdensome, and such circumstances were not self-created. The proposed silos will be the same height of the existing silos on the property. Criteria 2, the subject property has unique physical characteristics or limitations that prevent the property from being developed in compliance with the requirement in questions. The proposed silos are needed for manufacturing purposes in the proposed location, as much of the available area has already been developed. Criteria 3, The granting of the variance will not be contrary to or harm the public interest, given the general purpose of the zoning regulations and the specific purposes of the requirement in question. The increase in silo size has no adverse effect to public interest. Based upon the above findings, it is the opinion of the board that all criteria of Article 7, Division 12, Section 23.7-234 Town County Zoning Code have been met. There are staff recommendations with approval, and advisory conditions from the town were none, but the county condition is construction must meet all FAA regulations.
Question that Dan or Carrie, is that something that the county enforces as far as inspection goes, or something as far as when it's completed?
No, that'd just be the FAA.
FAA, okay. All right, doing the motion made seconded to approve the variance request on the property at 2451 Badger Ave. City of Oshkosh. Roll call vote, Susan,
Aye.
Tom T,
Aye.
Tom B,
Aye.
Greg, aye, motion carries. Okay, the next one we have on our agenda is the appeal in town of Oklahoma on a property at 4532 Bellhaven Lane. They are appealing a denial of a retaining wall. We have with us today, I don't think this is Jake Curtis over here, who was our attorney representing Board Adjustment, so he's not a stranger to sitting.
Okay, good to know.
I know how much fun these things can be. So, I guess the main question in my mind anyways, is that there's an argument that the retaining wall has a side. And I've gone through the statutes and also the county regulations and definitions. And I did look up the state of Wisconsin building code as far as retaining walls is concerned, trying to find a definition, because in the the state of Wisconsin DNR letter, Mr. Rosenbeck had stated that retaining wall is defined in section 59.62, paragraph 1, as an accessory structure that has a side. And I've read through that statute probably, I don't know how many times. I cannot find that definition anywhere. There is no definition of a retaining wall in that particular statute. And I didn't find a definition for retaining wall in any of the statutes. But I did find it in the this is the state of Wisconsin building code. It's section 15.04.040 under definitions. And it's stated that a retaining wall means a man-made wall or similar structure located on a slope to support uneven elevations of earth or ground. Period. Doesn't say anything about size or anything else. And then a little bit further in the definitions, it states the structure means anything which is constructed, erected, and framed of component parts, and which is fastened, anchored, or rests on a permanent foundation or on the ground for any occupancy or use whatsoever, including without limitation radio broadcast antennas and towers, swimming pools, decks, solar collector systems, accessory buildings, including without limitation yard maintenance buildings, private garages, swimming pool cabanas, garden houses, tennis courts, and retaining walls, but excluding fences. That's the definitions I could find. Anybody find anything different? So, and I don't know what how you guys feel about this, but in my mind, I think the argument here is whether or not this retaining wall has a side. And in the counties, the county does allow open side and screen structures such as gazebos, decks, patios, and screen houses in one definition, and it goes on in the other definitions to allow retaining walls. But when I was thinking about this, I think if you got a patio that goes out, you know, for whatever feet, less than 200 square feet. And of course, you're gonna have the edge of it, right? If it's not at ground level, doesn't cover that. So if say if you got a 6 inch or a 4 inch or 10 inch, whatever, and side or end to that patio, is that considered a side? Or a deck, same thing. If it's got, end of the deck comes out 8 inches, 10 inches, 12 inches, whatever, you know, the end of it. This end, is that considered a side?
Well, I think in that scenario, it's not considered a side because the deck is either has sides and it's a gazebo, or it doesn't have sides and it's just the deck. I mean, that's, if you read through it and what they're trying to allow to be constructed in the shoreland, that's kind of what they were after, or it seems to be that that's kind of what they were after. So I think when you're talking about sides on a retaining wall, I believe there's sides. One side is visible from the lake. The other side is doing a job of holding back earth. So that's, in my opinion, it has sides. Doing what it does. So. But I agree, that's kind of the whole crux to this is whether or not it has sides, because that seems to be what the argument is.
Yeah, and also in the county's analysis on there, on the denial, it's stated the retaining wall is no different than a fence. Well, according to the state, it is different. It's different than a
Right,
fence.
yeah.
And this is that has size is not an exempt structure, but in the. Again, you've probably all seen this with the state's code or the statute, I should say. Counties are granted special zoning permission for construction or replacement of a structure on property in the shoreline setback area if all the following apply. And then it says in paragraph C of that particular statute, the structure that is a subject of request for special zoning permission has no sides or has open or screen sides.
Where air can go through or something can go through.
Right.
That's, you know, this retaining wall, is it a retaining wall meant to have something go through it?
You know, it's meant to block or
Okay,
hold back
right,
soil.
right. So is it serving the purpose, like, but there's gonna be more runoff the way this is? The way this is constructed, there's no vegetated buffer, right?
No, there is.
There is now?
Yeah.
Okay, because from what I was reading through, they were saying they're going to put in vegetative buffer once, you know, they changed the plan, the original plan.
I thought I read in one of the briefs of the applicant that the vegetative buffer was
There, yeah.
I did not get back out there to view it.
Unless they did it after. Let's see, where is
But I thought I read in one of the briefs that was presented by the applicant that the vegetative buffer was completed,
that? Let's see, what is that?
but
It's in here somewhere. This one? Okay, it said, when they, on the July 10th, 2023 letter, the owner is submitting a plan to establish a vegetative buffer zone that covers at least 70%. They're submitting a plan,
okay.
but that didn't say that there was a vegetative buffer there. Or that would be my concern. I mean, yes, it seems like it has a side, but I think we have to look at what the purpose of this is to begin with. you know, is it doing the purpose that it was meant to do? And were the proper, permits in place, or are they now, which they're not? Is this creating runoff that could cause damage? There was no DNR approval for this.
Well, one of the requirements of the special zoning permission is to have a vegetative buffer.
Right.
installed.
Right.
So that's gonna be something that's gonna, I mean, that's gonna be part of the process, and what we do here today, right, it's gonna have to be done.
But it wasn't, I mean, if they were,
Well,
if they
that
were
doesn't matter,
following
right.
the rules, they would have, when they changed the plan, this was not what originally was approved by the county. So they decided, we don't like that, we're gonna do something else, but they did not get any permits or go through with a vegetative buffer that they knew they should have when they created this new retaining wall.
Well, yes and no, I mean, they didn't get any permits for this because, number one, at the public hearing, the contractor didn't think they had to. That was part, that they thought was part of the whole building process. And as far as the vegetative buffer goes, I mean, everything was removed there, with the intention of doing that. So,
I find it very hard to believe that a contractor did not realize that they needed DNR approval for doing
I don't need
what they were
DNR,
doing.
they don't need DNR approval for that. They need the counties.
The statute
Well-
says though, that there's certain buildings that are allowed there.
Right.
Okay, and I believe part of their argument is that that wall falls within that definition of what is allowed in there. And the argument comes down to whether or not it has walls now. To what you were saying, and what the purpose of. It seems what they want, when I read through it, it seems to me the buildings that they wanted to allow to be built in there were things to help you enjoy your shoreline. Decks, gazebos, something to get out there, not necessarily something to create that area, but to allow it once it's there. I mean, I think if they put, if that wasn't a retaining wall and it was just footings for a deck, I think a deck would be allowed out there. Because it's, it would meet.
35 feet
It would meet
and-
the
okay.
definition of buildings that are allowed in the shoreland. But the fact that retaining wall is considered a structure and it's creating a more friendly yard in the back, I guess. I would say that that's not allowed. I mean, I would think that that's a structure that's not part of what they had intended to be built in the shoreland.
And Jake like to make it.
Yeah, I just, I guess for the board's benefit, if you look at, because I think you all are making really valid points, NR 11505. That's the DNR reg. I think that's helpful, I think, to address, I guess to focus the board's kind of decision here, because under, so 11505 sub 1, B1M notes exempt structures. And so I think this is kind of, ma'am, to your point, kind of like, to the extent DNR has provided any guidance, they're going through the exempt structures: A, boathouses; C, fishing rafts; D, broadcast signal receivers; E, I'll just say generally utility structures; F, walkways, stairways, or rail systems; and then kind of going backwards, B, is open sided and screened structures such as gazebos, decks, patios, and screen houses in the shoreline setback area that satisfy the requirements in 59,692(1)(v). So back
Back to
to
there.
exactly where, where I think,
Yeah.
Ms. Landretti and your corporation counsel have done a good job briefing this issue that we end up kind of right back to, because I don't think there's any question from a legal standpoint that certain structures are permitted. The question becomes, is this the structure that fits? And obviously that's for the board to decide. And that's what's been briefed by the two attorneys here. And I think they've both done a very good job on a difficult issue. And that's obviously your decision. So I'll stop there, but I just thought that would be helpful to clarify kind of what NR 115, which is providing at least some more explanation. That's the whole point of administrative code, to provide a little more guidance as to what the statutes detail.
In my view, when I went out there and saw the property, I saw retaining wall. When staff went out there, they saw retaining wall, made a decision consistent with the way retaining walls have been decided on in the county for a long time. So I don't think staff had any choice but to make this decision.
And explain that a little bit, I mean, my whole issue in my mind is that we've approved the retaining walls for a long time. So how is this different? Just because it's
Right,
not
that's what I'm
running
saying.
parallel, it runs perpendicular, so if you've done in the past, as far as the lot lines go. So how is this any different?
We've had other retaining walls that went down the shoreline. There was one way out on the play, and I remember,
Okay, so
that the guy had built and had to take down.
I don't remember all that at all, but what about the ones that run parallel with the lot lines? Why are those different?
They aren't.
And we've approved those in the past.
We have approved them, but that was variance. We're not discussing a variance this morning.
Okay,
We're discussing a staff decision, whether we back that staff decision or not.
so, but we still need to know,
You're saying variance would be required for this.
I would think
Well,
variance would have been considered much differently than what we're discussing now.
okay, okay.
Yeah,
I can't say whether it would have been approved or not. I know how I would have
Right.
voted. But I don't know how you all would have voted. But a variance was never asked for.
Right,
They're asking for an exemption.
okay.
Mhm.
So what you're saying is that if they wanted to say, come back and ask for a variance, that'd be a whole different animal.
Mhm.
Okay,
And then if there is a conflict with state law, and I'm saying if there is a conflict with state law, that's a different avenue of approach on their part. It's not something that staff had a choice in applying, is what I'm suggesting.
Mhm. I agree with Tom.
yeah. So I mean, we don't know what transpired as far as if staff or anybody had mentioned about going through the variance process to approve or disapprove this.
True.
And we don't know that, and we won't know that at this particular point in time. Okay.
I think I did ask the question during the public hearing whether an application had been made, and the answer was no,
Right,
but that's as much as we know.
right, right.
So what you're saying is that their decision was consistent with what they've always done.
Exactly.
Yes.
To that, and I'm looking at this picture and we're looking at a retaining wall on the neighbor's property and going, and it was never clear whether that retaining wall ever needed county action or if that was grandfathered in or, if it's consistent, then they never dealt with that one.
Not native,
Right, I mean, that's fire. Are we too late to find out?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We don't even know how long the wall was.
Right, exactly. I'm guessing by looking at it that it's been there a long time.
Okay.
Crucial move
15.
support of staff decision.
All right, before we go on with that, I just got a question, you know, I've never been involved with this before. As far as an appeal goes, I don't think any of us has, so are we gonna follow the same procedure as we normally do? As far as findings? Is that what we do? We don't have to wing it,
I would suggest.
be the same, follow the same routes,
Or can we,
I have.
ask for,
you do?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
I was gonna say if we asked for, you know,
no, that's good, that's good, I
Prior-
wasn't sure, if this is the same process, but. That's fine, that's good, so, I'm sorry, there was a motion made and seconded to.
Support staff decision.
Okay, to deny the appeal request,
I'll second.
I think Susan already did.
Did you?
Did you not?
I
Oh.
think it's second.
Okay. Findings for denial,
In findings for the denial, on visitation, there exists a retaining wall. Staff decision is consistent with the way retaining walls have been handled in the past.
there's been a motion made and seconded to. So, what are they? So reference. This one. It just says in reference. So it should. And it's fine, just reference chapter 27.
We're looking for additional findings.
Just,
Yeah.
yes. Just so this is really into the record. Reference to. Chapter. Showing. Just.
Okay.
Just so it's on record. So we can make sure that.
Third finding comes from chapter 27 of Shoreland zoning code. This is county zoning code. Section 1.3 purpose and intent. In our 115.01.
This was referenced in the findings. Okay. All right, there's been a motion made and seconded to deny the appeal request. Including the findings. Roll call vote, Susan?
Aye.
Pete?
Aye.
V? Aye. Greg? Aye. Motion is denied, or the appeal is denied. Is there any other business we need to decide today?
Crucial moves to adjourn.
Motion made, second, adjourned, is there a second? Motion made, second to adjourn. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Do we have a viewing coming up?
Let me